Hi, um, this is me, Nutan and Malini. I hope all of you had a great holiday season. It's our first podcast of the new year, so we want to wish you all a very, very happy new year. New Year and holidays are also time for a lot of people um, uh, when they remember the people they've lost. And although loss is part of life, yet, and grief is part of life, yet it is something that we don't talk about a lot, especially at our age, because as you get older, you're losing a lot of people, friends, and most importantly, nobody comes to our age and have without losing at least one parent at a point.
Oh, yeah.
And it's an interesting thing because you should grieve your parent because the alternative is not good for the parents. No parent should have to grieve their
Oh, my
child.
goodness, yeah.
But as you get older, the grief actually, I thought it would change, but it doesn't change. A friend of mine, an older friend of mine, who is also, you know them, had said to me that, Newton, I've lost two parents, one when I was 30s and the second one when I was in late 60s. And trust me, losing a parent at older age is easier than losing at younger age. I don't know whether I can say the same thing. I lost my father when I was around 47 or so. I lost my mother around when I was 59, so about 10, 12 years later. And I couldn't say one was easier than other. You've lost both parents.
I've lost both parents, and with recently, both my in-laws. So it was finally all four parents have finally gone. But in some ways, I was lucky enough to have, and my children were lucky enough to have all four grandparents till they were in their late 30s. I was, when my father passed, I was 65 years old. And I have to say that it is a gift to be able to have your parents till you're older, because your relationship has changed and you're able to forge a different type of relationship. There's always a parent-child relationship, but there's also a difference when there is not a sudden death, which I'm going to talk about a little bit, because with both my father and mother, they had some illnesses, and it was as if, yes, we knew they were going to pass, but it gave us time to kind of fill those years with, some very, very memorable, not even occasions, but it may be just conversations. But it's hard for me to say, oh, I didn't have a parent pass when I was young. So it's hard for me to compare. But I have to say that there is always holiday times, Diwali, Christmas. My mother loved Christmas Eve. There is a nostalgia, and there is a feeling of missing them.
And I'll tell you, for me, what was the most surprising and shocking part of it, that my father died relatively after a short illness. So it was and we were much younger, so it was hard. He died while he was still my father. The relationship never changed in that sense. He still was the father. My mother died when she was about 86, 87. And the relationship had back and forth. because she needed a lot of caring and sometimes and this and that. But what is interesting is, and this I tell to a lot of people, when you lose a parent, it's a very traumatic event in the sense that you're no longer anybody's child. So losing the
Especially
second
parent, yes.
is because you're no longer, at no matter how old you are, being an orphan is a terrible, terrible thing.
It helps when you have a sibling.
Yes, it is. I was just gonna say, we think alike. It is very helpful to have a sibling because you have some shared memories and you have shared knowledge and shared experiences. And if you have an older sibling, it's better because they've seen you as a baby or younger. But if you're the older one, then nobody is there anymore that has seen you in that capacity. And that's a loss people don't think about. And I don't want this to be a morbid or a long thing, so it's to make it more a positive twist in that sense is when you're grieving a parent, you go through very interesting stages. If your parent has died as an older person after a long illness, the first thing is there is a relief because you feel they're no longer suffering.
Yes.
And then there is also a profound feeling of loss, that you've lost the parent. And sometimes the longer a parent has been ill, the sense of loss comes later. In the beginning, it is more relief.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, it's God. You don't have to worry about them. Like your parents were not here, so those of kids whose parents are farther away, for them the relief is, oh, at least I can sleep. I don't have to worry about.
Yes, I mean that is so true because also with the time difference, there's a 13-hour time difference where they were. We were constantly any phone. It was hard for me to sleep. We're all the time listening for a phone call. Yes, with FaceTime, with all of this, it was nice because we could talk often. But still, that constant worry. And the fact that, during the COVID time was very difficult because we also didn't have, connection. If something happened, we couldn't go, which actually was what happened with my mother. But you're right, there is a relief and then there is a loss.
And there's a loss of the parent that you've lost. But there is a third stage that people need to be prepared for, because that actually is a sad but also very nice, because then you start remembering the vibrant, loving parent, young parent they were. And that stage is actually what I would say is an acceptance of that grief as a life process.
Yeah, and since we're talking about like the holiday time, and that becomes always you kind of miss somebody. Maybe they may have passed around that time, which makes it a little bit more intense. Or still, it's nice to think about some traditions, and we did talk about traditions.
Yeah.
There is a gravy bowl that was from my house, and I always put it out at the holiday time. I remember my mother pouring from that. Maybe a recipe, maybe something that somebody liked to eat. There were things my brother liked that we would add that, or do it and say, hey, I'm thinking about you. But there are ways in which you can honor them, add them into your traditions, even after they have passed.
Yes. And one of the things that happens to me, which is very funny, is I look like my mother. And as I'm getting older, I'm looking more like her.
Well, actually,
and my voice
look like my father.
Yeah. And my voice is more. So sometimes when I look in the mirror, I suddenly get a big shock because the person in the mirror is not me in my mind, but it's my mother. And so that's the kind of thing. So what my 2 cents worth on this one is grieving your parent is a very, very natural part of life. When you are in your deepest sorrow, you have to remember that the reverse is not good for anybody. You would not wish for your parents. You have to bear that pain because you don't want your parent
course,
to
yeah.
feel the pain of losing you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's the one. And the thing is that there is going to come a time where you are going to remember their younger, vibrant self. And you can do things to preserve those memories and tell your grandchildren
Yes.
about your parents. I
Yes.
think that's an important thing because that's how we can keep them alive. If you are lucky, your children will know them, but you have to tell your grandchildren about your parents.
No, that is very true. And you know, two of our grandchildren actually did get to meet their great grandparents, which is, you know, is a double blessing.
Yes.
But there are so many ways in which you can. It's funny when you talk to, you know, the grandkids, when they can think about special times they had, you know, with with some of the grandparents, and in fact, one of their great grandparents. Even it was kind of surprising because as we grow older, and I'm talking about the other way, it is important for us to make sure that we create memories with our grandkids as we go along. I don't know whether we'll ever see great grandchildren, but at least we will have memories that are created with grandchildren that they will then pass on. So I'm not sure what the 2 cents for this is.
Like I said, the 2 cents from my perspective is it's a natural process and it gets better.
Yes, and during the holiday time, there are ways in which you can keep them closer by some special memories and traditions.